Good evening. I do apologize for being late. I forgot, living in Washington for so long, coming back up to Philadelphia when the Eagles play, everything shuts down. So I'm glad to be here. I see a lot of good friends from my class and a lot of good friends and a lot of brothers back here. That don't sound okay. Right. My name is Charles Gill. I graduated in 1976. I was a member of the infamous track team, but I wasn't one of the recipients who's going to receive this award. These guys were actually extremely talented. God gave them a serious gift. Yeah. A serious gift. Yes. And all of those who are being honored tonight, I salute you. Thank you. Okay, we're going to start. You all ready? You all ready? How you feeling tonight? Good. Okay. We're going to start off. Did we do the Star Spangled Banner, Coach? No. We did? No. Okay. Let us all stand, please. We're going to sing the Star Spangled Banner. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly began at the twilight's last gleam, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets flared glare, the bombs bursting in air, came through the night, that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land and the free and the home of the brave? All right. You may be seated. Blue. Please stand again, I'm sorry. We're going to sing our anthem first. One verse. Stand, please. Lift every voice and sing to earth and heaven rings. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let us give down loud as a rolling sea. Sing a song full of the hope that the darkness has brought us. Sing a song full of the faith that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. All right. We're going to have the invocation by Dr. Norman Spencer. You did that? I'm sorry. And we'll have greetings from Gregory Haley, Principal of 2012 President.
Good evening once again. I like to be called Greg Haley. Actually, the only time I hear Gregory is when I'm in trouble and I ain't in trouble in a long while. So I'm Greg Haley, the proud principal of Ben Franklin High School. Thank you very much. gonna go off script for a little bit because I did prepare something I wanted to say, but as Coach Ham was saying, I've got over 2 years I've been principal of Ben Franklin, I'm going into my 3rd year. I've got to know a lot of key people in this 2 years, 2 short years of being at Ben Franklin, Coach Ham being one of them. Some folks I knew prior to getting here, Lou Williams and John Chapman, and I'm surprised Mr. Chapman isn't here yet, but certain folks are just part of the fabric of Ben Franklin that you get to know as soon as you walk into the door. And it's an honor to serve as the principal of Ben Franklin High School with such a storied past and 75 years of existence. This school has such a rich history that I've come to learn as a result of this anniversary celebration banquet. As Ham was saying, we got it together shortly. I mean, in a short amount of time. It's something that has been on my plate for a while. I knew it was happening. And I'm an old-fashioned, I'm just an old Mason at heart. When it's all said and done, I just think there's certain things that just need to be recognized and done because that's how that's how I was raised and that's how it's supposed to be. And we can't let a year go by, especially something as great as the 75th anniversary, and not being able to recognize it in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And with that being said, Miss Pat Brown, I got 110 staff members, but Miss Pat Brown took the ball and ran with it, didn't ask for money, anything, and is just that type of person. I mean, certain people just live, eat, and sleep Ben Franklin, and she's one of them. The people that she surrounded herself with, we're going to name them in a few minutes. They all took part, just took the ball and ran with it, and I really appreciate it. All students at Ben Franklin stand this time too, just walked in, but I'd like to recognize our students. Please, existing students, not all y'all students, but we're doing existing students, Lana, Sierra, Eileen, thank you, please celebrate them for being here. Thank you for their support. Eileen she's our senior class treasurer, and I thank her for being here as well. I'd like to also recognize our assistant principal, Miss Elizabeth Bell. Miss Bell, please stand. She's in the area at Ben Franklin, and Coach Carter will tell you, like mom and pop team at Ben Franklin, kids, if they can't get it from one, they get it from, try to go to the other, and we try to remain consistent, both say no. So we try to keep each other honest with that. But she knows she favors the boys and I favor the girls. Boys are a bunch of hard heads, and I say no to them pretty easily. She compliments me well, and I appreciate you being here, Ms. Bell. I'm happy and proud we can continue the legacy by adding to our wall of fame with 20 more deserving individuals. Please allow me to be the first to congratulate our inductees who joined the likes of Nate Baxter, John Chaney, Ken Hamilton, Dr. Norman Spence, John Chapman. 3 of the 5 are here, 3 of the 6 are here this evening. Give them a round of applause, please. One good thing about Ben Franklin is that we believe in giving folks, and I've come to know that we believe in giving folks their flowers out here. The gym is named after Coach Hamilton, and the winningest varsity basketball coach in the city of Philadelphia during this time. So it's Hamilton Hall. And then we have our auditorium is named after Mr. Nate Baxter, who was the head of the school board. He's been to the school on a couple of occasions. He would have been here tonight if Dr. Spencer hadn't took ill. So, and their names are proudly displayed over the auditorium and over the gym respectively. I would also like to conclude with a special thank you to the 75th Anniversary Committee. It was led by Ms. Pat Brown, also Ms. Carol Ross, Mr. Denise Fennell, Ken Hamilton, Dave Carter, Eddie Hurt, Kevra Rice, Angelica Vasquez, and Calvin Johnson, Rodnika Howard, Shira Dixon. I'd like to thank you all, and I do see me put in tonight. We do have a small token to give you. I'd like to give you a small token of my appreciation. So please see me before you leave today, because I really appreciate it, and I'd like to present you with my token. And also to all the inductees, students, staff, and friends and family and guests, I'd like to welcome you all. Thank you for attending, and I look forward to a great evening. Thank you.
We're going to have a special recognition, and the presenter will be Andre. Class of 97.
Good evening, everybody. I was asked to come up here and speak on a couple people, and the three people that I get to talk about this evening all take me back 21 years ago. 21 years ago today, I interviewed my first person for a story in the Philadelphia Tribune. Didn't know much about anything, went to a locker room after the game, said, hey, I want to talk to you about your team's win. What was it like to win? Kenny Hamilton took the notepad from me, said, who are you? What do you want to do? What do you know about me? What do you know about basketball? What do you know about Ben Franklin? I knew the answer to nothing. But from that little whatever it was you gave me then, it helped me become an editor of a newspaper now in North Carolina, so thank you. Coach Albert Hill, I don't know anybody in this room that hasn't been coached by Hill. My freshman year, I also lost my grandfather, and I was out of school for a couple of weeks. Came back, and he says, not your grandfather, not your friend, I'm your coach. But I had known all about Coach Hill because Coach Hill coached my father in track, two of my uncles in football, myself, and my little brother. So everybody knew who Coach Hill was. He's not here this evening, but I talked to him a while ago. He said, tell everybody hello, he's fine, and so on. Then it was Carol Ross. I was out of school for, I think it was 2 weeks. Was it 2 weeks? 2 weeks. Got an F. I earned an F. Now I realize I earned an F. Back then I thought you gave me an F because you didn't like me, didn't like you. That was just the way it was going to be. Carol Ross also told me that you should go ahead and go to a black college. What black college? You should go to Cheney. Hollywood was part of it, Cheney. I ain't want to know Cheney. Why should I go to Cheney? I hosted my first Cheney University alumni event yesterday in North Carolina. So I thank you for that. With that said, Coach Ham, Ms. Ross, would you please come to the front.
She's gonna change it up.
Thank you very much.
I've just been informed by Ms. Brown. I tell you, the administrators were worse than the teachers, the male teachers, specifically Ms. Ross. But Ms. Ross says, you do something, you did it. Wasn't up for discussion and negotiation. And I do appreciate Ms. Ross. She was there when I was there. And I can't tell you how much of an impact Ms. Ross and very others, such as Dr. Leon Bass. I just want to elaborate a little bit on Dr. Leon Bass. Dr. Leon Bass, I just happened to be watching a special while I was at Cheney University. And Ed Bradley did this wonderful depiction, of the story, if you will, on African-American soldiers who fought in World War II. And I'm sitting there, and we're talking about the liberation of Auschwitz and various other concentration camps. And there was this gentleman, I kept looking at him, he was young. You know how you had that delayed reaction? And all of a sudden, it fast-forwarded to him being interviewed. And it was none other than Dr. Leon Bass. And I was floored. And then I really understood just where he was coming from. He was really concerned about us and concerned about people overall. And also, Dr. Bass was one of the first, if I'm not mistaken, first black principal at Ben Franklin High School. But a lot of alumni actually petitioned to have him to be the first black principal of Ben Franklin High School. We affectionately referred to Dr. Bass as Wharton, if you all remember. But he ran a tight ship, and he was no nonsense. It was either you were going to come to school or we were going to come to your house to get you to come to school. You didn't have a whole lot of educators who really, really cared like that. But we salute Dr. Bass, which is the picture right there, and many others. At this time, Ms. Brown has informed me we're going to have dinner, and we're going to do the presentations in between. So feel free, Ms. Brown.
Our maitre d' is going to call you by tables. We're going to start with our first two tables right here.
Okay. The presentee for the 1950s will be Ms. Pat Brown.
Good evening, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to honor these gentlemen in their endeavors at Benjamin Franklin High School. For the 1950 awards, we're going to ask that if you come up, you take a few minutes. So we're going to ask Mr. Claude Rose to go next in the 50s. Is Mr. Al Harris here? Okay, yes. Mr. Claude Rose said he would like to go first.
Good evening. They always say I have a short time, but the history of Ben Franklin, I don't think nobody here knows it better than me.
Nobody is that old.
Well, you know, every way you get old is keep living, brother. You know what I'm saying? You talk to the right guy, but that did. Anyway, Ben Franklin was originally Central High School, and Central moved to 20th and Almy, and they left Ben Franklin for Dump City. All guys late to school, trouble in other schools, end up at Ben Franklin. I came from South Philly, and we came up there because we couldn't go to Southern because white folks was going to kill us. I didn't realize when we came to North Philly they were going to kill us too. So the other part was Richard Cheney, which is John Cheney's brother, kind of encouraged me to come up there. And I had one thing in mind when I got there, that's to win the championship. John Cheney lost, and I told him that same team next year, we're going to beat them. A lot of guys would come to Ben Franklin because they were afraid. If you come out the wrong door, there was a gang. Poplar Street, Diamond Street, the Village, Zulu Nation, Poplar Street. All the guys up there were from all over the city, which is the best foundation for a guy like me. You had guys from 4th and Washington Avenue, Point Breeze, Grace Ferry Road, South Street, which is a famous street for Bob Gainey, Leon Whitley, a lot of guys is here. We went there, it's the best melting pot I ever met in my life. The guys that were there were down the bottom, the black bottom, which you know nothing about, that's the 32nd Street, Mr. Johnny Gross back there, Professor Johnny Gross. And the bottom, the top, they had a good mixture of people there. When you get there, we stopped them from going to Westford to play because the guys from Ben Franklin decided we might lose the game, but we're going to fight. And that's the slogan they had. Some guys that I met, you'd call Norman Spencer, which is one of my understudies one time, Dr. Norman Spencer, excuse me, and his brother Melvin. What happens is, Ben Franklin later on had more South Philly guys, and I don't think you know this, and people that didn't live in North Philly and Franklin. Randy is from Woodland Avenue, Richard is from Ewood Passion Homes, Bob Gainey is from South Street, the most famous street in Philadelphia, even when the white folks got the state, still famous. I'm saying that they didn't like people from Ben Franklin. A pair of sneakers, here's a good story. In the South there, they had old Army sneakers, flapjacks. Converse was out of question. Dr. Dave Ball of Beloff told me that it was very nice for me to wear these sneakers. I was playing for money at 16. I got me $6.70 and went down and got me a pair on 6th and Chestnut that weren't brand new. I never thought that the sneaks gonna make you jump. That was a fallacy. Somebody tell you get these sneaks or you got a pretty uniform, you can play. That's bullshit. All right, I'm gonna tell you this here. Stu Graham is one of my sons, an understudy back there. This guy is one of my understudy, and all the guys in Franklin, they play for me. I get that.
All right. First, giving our honor to Lord Savior Jesus Christ, His first life. I'd like to thank the committee, really, for nominating me. It was a challenge because when Kyle called me, it made me think about, 1956. What I was doing in 1956. But I would like to thank them. Had a great time at Franklin. And Todd, you're right. If we didn't win the game, we win the fight. But won the games, and that's why I said let me talk about Claude. Because one of the greatest games, and I'm an old timer, that I had seen in my lifetime, and I was in junior high, getting ready to come to Franklin, when Claude and Will hooked up. And it was unbelievable. We look at that kind of game, I think it was like 45, 46. But Claude was shooting the raindrops, and Will was dunking. But it was a good game. Thank you. I'm not going to stand on any ceremony. Once again, I thank the committee for nominating me. I will give all the support, and I'm ready. Whenever you say, I'm ready. If you're talking about having an association, I'm ready. I'm ready to put my dollars where my mouth is. Thank you.
Our next honoree is Wendell Tucker. Is there anyone here that will accept it? Our honoree next is for Mr. Robert Gainey. His son, Mr. Larry Gainey, will be accepting the award for him. Mr. Gainey's going to say a couple words.
Thank you. First of all, what I'd like to do is mention a few things. I'd like to thank the alumni committee, the principals who are at hand here, and all the dignitaries and inductees. Let me mention a couple of things. Comcast had Will Chamberlain's last interview, and in that interview, they asked Will Chamberlain who his mentors were. And Will responded, Cheney and Gainey. That may not seem like a great deal to you, but it was very inspirational at the time. Right? So I was very impressed because at that point, I knew that my father had played ball and was a decent player, but I didn't know to what magnitude his character had on anyone for that matter, let alone Will. And of course, Will is, arguably one of the best ball players in the nation. Claude, you didn't hear that, did you? Well, you know what? As a matter of fact, in 1953, since Claude is making reference to that, they had an AAU team that Claude was, had a big impact and influence on getting my father on, along with Will Chamberlain. And they went down to North Carolina and won the national AAU championship. As a matter of fact, they became the first black team to win national AAU championship. Kudos to you, Claude, and to that entire group. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you did it at a time when, and you beat an all-white team, and you did it at a time where it was, I mean, segregation and Jim Crow, you know, was in its biggest form, okay? So, you know, kudos goes out to you and that entire team.
Game your father, no book, maybe the referee when you was so called. You realize the first black team got white team in the South. I don't know why I was there.
Well, you all prevailed, so, you know, kudos. All right, the other thing is that John Cheney and my father in 1951 became the first black pair to become all-pro. When I say pair, meaning on the same team. So, you know, all these accolades were impressive to me. And you know, to this day, I'm real appreciative. Lastly, you know, you see me making reference to Claude because my family, I can't say enough about you, man. You know, we love you, we appreciate what you've done, because if it wasn't for you, you know, the influence on getting my father on the AAU team, and also just in turn, and also the Eastern basketball team too. Tell you a small story. Claude probably could tell it better, but my father and him was on the same basketball team in the Eastern Basketball League, and even though he got my father on the team and was influential in getting him on the team, my father, of course, found out how much money Claude was making. So, of course, my father, you know, went to the powers to be, and of course he wanted, you know, that same amount of money. Well, needless to say, he got traded. Thank you, folks.
The last one in the 1950s is Mr. Jim Moss. And I don't think he was a graduate, but he was one of the winningest fencing coaches that Ben Franklin had. And we would gladly induct him to our Wall of Fame. Mr. King Hamilton is going to accept on his head.
Jim Moss was a graduate. Everybody who we're putting up on the wall is a Benjamin Franklin graduate. And as far as Jim Moss is concerned, I consider him the #1 alumnus that Benjamin Franklin ever had, because he was a one-man. He was promoting Ben Franklin High School in the 60s when nobody wanted to hear anything about Ben Franklin High School. Jim Moss, he was Ben Franklin. When I walked in the door in 1966, he had the way some of you see me and the things that I had going on at Franklin. When you got there, Jim Moss passed that down to me. I just inherited that. He let everybody know I was his young boy. So that meant it was hands off. And when you had that, you could do anything. Jim Moss had the gangs under control. He was Mr. Ben Franklin, and he was a fencing coach. And Ben Franklin, the black kids, went all over, not just the country, but the world, and fenced against everybody. I mean, England, France, and he took me with him. And he taught me how to be a coach. And a lot of the things and the ways I deal with you, I learned from Jim Moss. So when we were deciding on people to go up on the wall, it had to be Jim Moss. He fought the fight when all coaches were white gym teachers. And he coached, only reason why he coached fencing, because nobody else wanted to coach fencing. Otherwise it would have been a white gym teacher. And he took me places. We went everywhere. When you graduated from Ben Franklin, not only did we get you in college, me and Jim Moss drove you to school. He had a Volkswagen van. And you just packed your bags in that van, and me and Jim drove to wherever school you was going, and we dropped you off. Now, unfortunately, a lot of those kids beat us home. but at least we took it. So when it comes to Ben Franklin High School, Jim Moss is number one.
I got one back.
Before you leave, I know we gave you a t-shirt, but we do have some sweatshirts, some hoodies. I'm always selling for Ben Franklin. So if you want some paraphernalia before you leave, and some of you going back to other states, we're going to have in the back, we'll have some paraphernalia for you to buy. Purchase.
For the 1970s, I will be presenting 60s. Oh, excuse me, the 60s. I'm so eager to get to the 70s. Miss Denise Fennell going to be presenting for the 60s, and she's coming down right now.
Ed was doing such a good job, I was hoping that she forgot she told her. I had to do this. All right, giving honor to God, the inductees, friends, family, and guests. It gives me proud, I'm so proud to announce the 1960s inductees. Fred Carter, George Knott, Jim Turner, Tom Cruder. Am I saying that correctly? Okay, so our first person, Fred Carter, he's not here.
His bio is in there.
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
First black coach of 76.
Okay, come on up. Come on up.
I'm right Fred ain't here living, I live in New Jersey. But if you know Fred was always kind of like that. He was off someplace by himself. But a heck of a player. What was it, Mount St. Mary's? He went to college. Played in the pros. He got drafted by the Baltimore Bullets. And Fred and I were playing on the same team at that time. And Fred was a hard worker. He worked somewhere in some warehouse, someplace, working all the time. A lot of times he couldn't play with us. So this day he couldn't play with us. We couldn't understand why. And Fred said he quit his job. Fred, what's wrong with you, man? You quit your job. He says, I got drafted by the Baltimore Bullets, and I'm going down to camp. Fred, you crazy. You ain't that much better than us. Plus, they got all the guards in the world. I mean, they must have had, I don't know, including the Earl Monroe, they had everybody. And he was gonna go. Well, his nickname was Mad Dog. And he actually went down there and made that team. And then he got traded to the 76ers. And you know, they talk about the worst team the 76ers ever had. he was the star of that team. Good guy from Francisville. And he later on became the first black coach that the 76ers have had. That's Fred.
Continuing on with the 1960s, Jim Turner. Coach, you're going to need to stand here. You're the historian here, okay?
All right. Jim was one of our best football players we've ever had, and he went on and played in the NFL, and he played for the New York Giants. We don't know where he is, so we couldn't get in touch with him, but a great young man, very fine young man. A lot of people couldn't believe he came from Franklin. he was a gentleman, he was soft-spoken, and we really couldn't believe it when we saw him out there playing football. Because Jim, he wouldn't hurt a fly, but he was quite good. Okay, that was Jim.
Don't go nowhere. Next, we have George Nook. George!
Talk about some people better than me.
I remember when Carol first called me, and she looked at the information that she had, and she said, you know, you with the 1950s group. I said, 50s? And I said, no, that's what you always do. The last time they had an all-year reunion, they had years listed by tables, and it started back then in like the 40s, and then it got to the mid-50s. So when I walked into the room, the guys that were at the 50s table said, George Lewis, come on back in with us. I said, hold up, guys. I know I played with y'all, but I'm not as old as y'all. And Al Harris was one of that group, and then I just kept telling them I'm only 14, and even though I'm running with y'all, it's not a reflection of my age. But Ben Franklin was a pot-belly talent, really raw talent. Because a lot of times when I first got there, I guess there were about 900 guys that came in my freshman class, or 600, something like that. And in our graduating class, we only had like something like 88. But in that transition, we had guys that never played organized sports, definitely football. When we first came out, in the first day that we came on campus, they said we'd meet us at 3 o'clock. And the next day they gave out equipment, of which the guys from my block, Warnock and Orange Street, did not know how to put nothing on. Everything was upside down, backwards, and but by the end of that week, we turned out to be a talented group in just about every sport that was at Ben Franklin. From football, basketball, track. One of my cohorts was Steve Denby, one of the most talented athletes that ever went to Ben Franklin. Fred Carter, they were all on the same basketball team. I was an imitation point guard, but I couldn't play in high school, but I played on the streets. But I really do appreciate this recognition that that era coming up in the streets of Philadelphia, amongst all the gangs in the world, trying to be a talented thug. So somebody told me from West Philly, said, you're the nicest thug I ever met. So, in doing so, I appreciated another time I came back after I was into the arts, and one of the guys from West Philly came up and said, man, I love you. I said, what did I do? He said, well, you helped me 2 times. You kept some guys from killing me just by saying he's with me, and you gave me inspiration to do all I've done. And he was the CEO of some corporation. And it made me proud that some of the things, the interactions I had with so many people, had some blessings and rubbed off in a good way. And now we got to start this fight all over again. But it's a good thing, and I do appreciate it. Oh, I also, you asked me about Tom Cruder. Tom Cruder is one of my heroes in playground basketball. I think Al Harris and one of his buddies, when I was 14, I could jump real high and stuff like that, so they took me with them. So I said, I can block anybody's shot. So I went and was playing against Tom, because they say he's one of the baddest things out here. So I jumped up there, and we were talking while we were in the air. I said, I got this, and I'm right there. So he pulled it back. And I said, that ain't good. And then he pulled it back again, and I said, I got that. And then he did some looping, and I was going down. I said, damn. But he was one of the most talented guys I've ever seen, and I'm glad to be a part of his group as well.
see my baby sister trying to take the mic, and she always tries to take everything from me. I just wanted to say, we weren't here at this time when, well, now I'm to my age, but a lot of people have told us about our dad and the great shots he used to make. They used to say that he was airborne. And really, I know why they say that, because I think we all are airborne sometimes. I can't express the gratitude that we feel right now for him even being inducted and being recognized with such a prestigious honor from his school and from other gentlemen that have talked about him, and also the ones that have known him. You know my dad, you know him as a comedian, because he was always funny. He always has a quick comeback or something to say. We might have not saw the jump shot, but we saw the jump in him. We did, however, see some of the footage from some newspaper ads or whatever, so we all knew he was great, because we always think of him as that way.
Hello. I just want to
My
say,
name is Sharon. Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to say, it's an honor to be here, because as my sister said, so many times we've heard stories about my dad and how he played basketball and how he was so good, and they called him the worm because he was a left-handed player and he'd be up in the air. And you know, a lot of times when you hear stories about people, you're like, oh, okay, that sounds good. But for us to be here today and see that you guys really appreciate him and he influenced so many people, we would just like to say thank you, and we appreciate it. And once again, thank you.
That's our brother.
Well, I like to say I appreciate what I see here. I too wasn't able to witness any of the games that he played. I could only hear him tell me. From what I hear, he's very talented. Unfortunately, I didn't get his height. He wasn't gonna play, and I did get some of his talent, but I needed the height to go with it. But I took my talents elsewhere and I did well. I've taken my talents elsewhere and I've done well with it. But I appreciate what I see, and I appreciate the attention you've given him, even though he's not here with us. Thank you very much.
All right, moving on. I just want to talk a little bit about the class of the 1970s, which I happen to be a part of. For those gentlemen that we're about to induct, I know all of you personally, and it's an honor to have known them and to know them to this day. These brothers actually influenced and gave me inspiration to join track, to get engaged in track, to understand the meaning of brotherhood and what it meant to be on a team. So I thank you. First, we're going to start with a good friend of mine, Mr. Robert Bobby Hunter. Mr. Hunter, Bobby came to Cheney. I knew Bobby just slightly over Ben Franklin. I was in the marching band, but I knew Bobby and I ran track. But Bobby came to Cheney, and we had to go out there. And the team was very supportive of the basketball team, of course, when we were dealing with Coach Cheney. Coach Cheney was really, really rough. And I recall once when the team was about to go and play for the championship. I was an RA on the 7th floor. And Coach Cheney had no problems with coming to your room in the middle of the night, banging on your door. I'm looking at this guy like, have you lost your mind? And as soon as I was about to say, but Coach, boom! Okay, Coach, I'll go and check everybody's room and make sure they're there. But he was that kind of coach. And Bobby was one of those players that always got into trouble. Always. Bobby doing something. I'm following behind the entire team. But in any event, to say this, Bobby, we are both from North Philadelphia. And this brother has aspired to many, many, many heights. To say the least about Bobby is just that he is truly a man of his word. He says what he means and he means what he says. He was an awesome basketball player at Cheney State University, coming from Ben Franklin. So I present to you Mr. Robert Bobby Hunter.
He's older.
Thank you, Brother Campbell. This is such a great honor, and I sincerely mean that, because it's not to be taken lightly by any one of us today. It's phenomenal. Thank my lady Pam for coming with me today. My best friend John Albert Hampton III, Showboat, is from Franklin too. So we hope to get him in here next year from North Philly, phenomenal player in 4 sports. But I want to say, came to Ben Franklin, had a great time, and I came there just to be with Kenny Hamilton. He didn't know that. They were trying to send me to Edison. The Edison coach is at my house. I was in the AAU back then. I probably didn't know what I was doing, but I wasn't scared of nobody. That was North Philly. The same stuff that Clark Rose is talking about, being from North Philly. And the ironic thing is the relationships. At 11 and 12 years old, I was coached by Dwight Jones. 11 and 12, Horace Owens and those guys. Then I come after that, I go to Chris Roulette at the Simons, and I coordinate this in the end. But then I go to Kenny Hamilton, and he sends me to John Chandler. But by default, because I signed a 5-year deal, 5-year deal with Drexel, signing that, 78, signing that. Unbelievable. Sneakers, sweatsuits, the whole shebang. They wouldn't take me because my PSAT scores wasn't good enough by 10 points. 10 points. I think Ham cussed them all out. Told them don't come back here, take none of our players. They took my contract away from me, and he took me up to Cheney, where the rest kind of is history. The best place that God wanted me to be. Amen. Because in my high school year, you're talking about competition. I go into the 10th grade, I beat the guys from Jefferson Street, and then they wanted to beat me up for beating them. And there was a guy by the name of Gary Hart, who passed away. Gary Butler, Cyclone Hart's brother, the famous boxer. They were gonna beat me up for beating them, because you had to fight to come to Franklin. I fought the Morocco, I fought Diamond Street, I fought North Street, and wasn't worried. I got beat up by Diamond Street, but the rest of them, it was all over. I say that because, as Clark Rose was saying, that you could come to Franklin if you didn't have no heart. And that's probably the one thing I had going for me, because as I said, Dwight Jones planted us when he took us from North Philly to Northeast. And I got mad because the Northeast gym looked better than Connie Mack's gym. So we got to beat the kids in the Northeast so we can come back up and play again. So I carried that passion to Ben Franklin, to go to the Final Four at the Palestra, carried our team, and hand kicks one of the best players off the team because he wouldn't go to class. So I had to, he put a smaller guard next to me named Larry Rivers, and we go into the Final Four. Got to play against the great Gene Banks. The first thing I said at the pedestrian, I told Gene he couldn't play. He's all American. Ham used to say, Bob, you crazy. You go out to shake hands, and I said, you're not going to win. And I did that for a long time in the Sunday League, and I had a great time. But that Ben Franklin, 77, 78, we had such phenomenal athletes. The Bernard Bennett, the great Morris, the Steve Harvey, who got a full ride to Wake Forest as a punter, drafted by the Phillies. Steve Harvey. So I say all this because there's a lot of people that are missing, that's not installed now, and I hope they will be. But I want to say that the one thing that kept me going in life is Kenny Hamilton. He was the only person that I was scared of because I didn't want him to hear about me doing any bad things. And believe me, he wasn't going to let me. When John Chaney kicked me off the team, he drove up to Chaney to get me because he heard that I was getting ready to come home and quit. He drove up at night and said, do what? Go back to North Philly? I thought about it. I saw all the pretty girls in college because Ben Franklin was all boys. And I said, no, I'm not going back and staying on the corner. I'm going to stay right here. Ham said stay here. Coach Chaney said stay here. And he went to Temple. It broke my heart to see him leave. But I say being scared of Ham is because of the relationship over the years that we built. And I could see when he passed on because there's this fraternity called Kappa Alpha Psi. Dwight Jones is a Kappa. Chris Roulette's a Kappa. Kenny Hamilton's a Kappa. And John Chaney is the craziest Kappa you will ever want to meet. Besides my big brother Lefty Johnson. So I say that because it's about building a relationship over the years. We got Lou Williams was assistant coach. He's a Kappa. Lou came out of college at Fisk my senior year. He's the assistant coach. So I'm wondering why all these guys ganging up on me to make sure I go to school. We all had a fraternity thing. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you all. Congratulations to all of you because it's a lot of history here. I appreciate it very much. Thank all my Kappa brothers for coming out.
The next person we're going to bring along is Brother Bennett Long, but before he comes, I'd just like to say a few things about Bennett Long. Bennett Long and his brother Bernard Long were one of the most exceptional runners I have ever seen in my entire life. It was because of these two guys I decided, okay, I'm not going to do the music thing. I'm going to get out there and run track. And I got out there, man, and these guys just beat me terribly. And Greg Moore used to have this little saying, you are not a sprinter. Remember that, Greg? But as they kept encouraging me and encouraging me and encouraging me, and finally I made it on the 4x4 in Northeast, we ran against Lincoln. And that was the best time that I had ever run in my life, and all I could hear Greg Long saying, you are not a sprinter. But Bennett Long, Greg Moore, and I, and Bernard, we all played football in the Martin Luther King League, which was an exceptional league. And during that time, Greg and I played for the Blackhawks, and I believe you guys played for the Saints. Oh, I'm telling you, boy. Oh, yes. And the Blackhawks and the Saints went to the championship that year, and I vividly recall getting to the championship. Bennett went out for a long pass, and I was an outside linebacker. And I'm like, oh, please don't throw this guy. Please don't throw the back. He caught the ball, and I'm running as hard as I can. And but he was such a nice guy. He slowed up around the 5-yard line And I dove for him, and all I got was dirt. And he came back, he's such a nice guy. He came back, he said, pick me up. Nice try, brother. Bennett has been always one of the most gentle souls that you can ever meet out of the two twins. Bernard was the one with the attitude, Mr. Revolutionary, the angriest black man in America. I'd like to present to you my good friend, and always be a good friend, Brother Bennett.
I haven't been much for words, but here we go. We started out as a barbershop track team. Greg, myself, and by me being the youngest twin, if he go anywhere, I gotta go anyway. I wasn't much of a runner, but when I saw these guys put out, that's all I need to say. Individually, not too much, but on the end of the relay team, watching these guys run made me give them a heart out, you know? In the beginning, we was a good team, but when I joined, we had too many sprinters. Everybody was in the high sprint race, and I was pushed to the 400 meters, 800, 600, and my brother missed one meet. And I ran his name because our initials are the same. So I was the last seed in the 100-yard dash for the meet of champions. I won that race, end of the year. Nobody expected it. But then everybody became quarter milers. And that's how we became a good relay team. So I owe it to Greg, Bernard. I feel like I shouldn't be up there without other people. Rainer, you know, it was just unbelievable people that pushed you. You know, the coaches, Williams, Redmond, just family, you know, it's just a great team to be on. I never expected in the barbershop that I would be accepting this award. But I thank you, and God bless everyone.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention this as well. For the gentleman who actually coached that team was Mr. George Williams, Mr. Jim Redmond, and there was another, Mr. Al Hill. And I just want to say also that these gentlemen actually went to Jamaica before there was a New Paul and broke the 4x4 high school record. And that was in 1970. 76. 400 meters. So I just want to let you know that it was a great accomplishment, and we all celebrate. And speaking of which, yes, Ben Franklin was saturated with gangs, but just let me just say this. At Ben Franklin, regardless if you were a gangster or not, you learn. Those teachers actually were committed to teaching us. Because if it wasn't for the Mr. Hamiltons, if it wasn't for the Miss Rosses, if it wasn't for the Vince Trombettas and the George Williams and Mr. Al Hill, we wouldn't be here today. So I want to thank you all. Thank you again. Next I want to bring the angriest black man in America. This guy was just such, look, I joke about him when I say that, but Bernard was a fierce competitor. Fierce competitor. One time he lost, and I believe he just threw the starting blocks across the field there. But that was because his heart was in it. He was a competitor. He was no nonsense. On the football field, same thing. Same thing. So I present to you now Mr. Bernard Long, one of the Gold Patrol members.
I'm speechless, and I don't know what to say. I'm speechless, and I really don't know what to say, but I'm gonna give it a shot. Now, the fact of the matter, being an angry black man, that was true. It's true becoming an environment that I grew up in at the age of 5 got him up. So whenever somebody approached me, I was very defensive. But then track and field came, Ronald Lockman, Greg Moore, my brother, Andre Davis, who's not here. We formed this little team called, at that time it was East Pop. We started as East Pop, then became Inner City Striders. And I used to see when we would go to meets, people used to try to intimidate us. And as that little boy who's almost like a fear-biting dog, I ain't really tough, but I'm gonna bite you, right? So my whole thing was, I see my brother run, and he's saying that we did this, but I seen him in Carmel Classic, Minneapolis. He ran 3 races. They was trying to get this white boy to win all 3 times. He won one, they stopped him, something was wrong with the lane, they put him behind him, they ran again, he beat him again at the same time, 52-1. Whoa, we got something here. Oh, somebody jumped, they started again. They put him in the same lane this time. He still beat him. That's when I said, it might be something to bid a quarter mile because of the strength. And then it was Greg Moore. Greg and my brother, we came from Strawberry Mansion together. And we ran age groups together, 10, 12. We didn't always win. It was a process. I think the process was more important to us than the actual results, because it fades every year. But just to get there. But I know these 2 guys, when they came to the track, at first we didn't know how to run. We really did. We didn't know what our strength was. And then this angry black man, my thing was, well, let me lead off. I'm going to set the team. I'm not going to let nobody intimidate us. I'm not going to talk snap to us, whatever. But if I can set the table and seeing with Greg was phenomenal sprinter out the blocks, acceleration. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed running with them, but I also wanted to beat them every day. And hang with them in practice. Practice was not to lose contact. Practice was not to lose contact at all costs. But when they was on that track, I felt confident that no matter how they was feeling that day, they was going to bring it. I had to set this table for them. When guys came, as they say today, talk smack, I'm not trying to hear that. I would bark and bite. Wall Street bullies, we know how that was. So that was my contribution to the team. I wanted to set the table because I know they was going to finish it. And we always fought over food, so we got to throw that in there too. But that was my joy of being with these guys. I depended on them. I loved them. Well, in fact, there was one story with Greg, this is paper. Greg, we had just lost Bennett. Oh my God, I'm losing my mind, right? And I thought we could run 309, 310, 306. That's how I thought. And I would tell them that. We could do this. And sometimes me, being an angry black man, they didn't want to hear what I had to say. Well, we're going to do this. Stop, leave that girl alone. Don't say nothing to her. We got to get this done. Oh, you can eat later. You know, that's how I was with them. Sometimes I wasn't a friend. But Bennett get hurt, he breaks his foot. And I just knew we was on to something that year. Then I remember at Jaguar Gym in Princeton, Greg is running the quarter, and we put a show on. We 50 meters in the lead on this thing. Greg is anchoring. Then I was thinking start limping. Oh no, George Williams told me, Papa Bear, stop him. Greg, stop. Greg, stop. Greg, I got this. Greg, stop. So I tackled him. I didn't want to lose Greg too and be by myself. So that relay team that I ran with, I enjoyed running with them. It was a pleasure running with them. But not only running with them, but running for them. So I thank you. I think I had the opportunity to be with these guys, and I'm most appreciative. Thank you.
Okay, the next recipient will be Mr. Gregory Moore. One thing about Greg Moore was simply this. I used to always ask Greg, why did you run with your head up? I mean, it was just a stride, just to see him run, right? You know, he got a kind of big head, you know, so you're watching this guy run. And then it dawned on me one day, Greg used to run the 220. Now, when I say Greg ran the 220, Greg ran the 220. And it dawned on me, when he got to the turn, the head wasn't up. It leaned into the turn. It basically was aerodynamics. And this was all taught by Mr. Williams. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the other young gentleman who was on that team, and that was Clinton Young. Clinton Young was on that championship team, who's no longer with us. But I remember once in football practice, this guy tried to tackle Clinton. Clinton had the thighs of, like, steel. And the guy ran into his thigh. And the guy actually suffered a concussion. He was knocked out. That's how powerful this young man was. And the other gentleman was Carl Nemes, who was also on that team. Okay? Yep. Carl Nemes. And we also talked about Andre. Who's also a member of that team. And Rainer. Who could forget Rainer? Rainer was like 6'1", 6'2", and that's exactly what we call him. This guy could run like you wouldn't believe. I mean, truly phenomenal. These gentlemen were phenomenal, and they were before their time. So I present to you my good friend who lived around the corner from me, went to Strawberry Mansion with me, Greg.
Thank you very much. You know, I'm not one much for words either, but I am, you know, truly grateful and humble standing here and running with the Long brothers. You know, we had such a family team at the time. You know, we were all kids from North Philly. You know, we wasn't kids from around the city. Like nowadays, they go get kids from all over. But we were young men living in North Philadelphia, you know, Strawberry Mansion area, which I moved back recently to the Strawberry Mansion area, and I still love Strawberry Mansion. But, you know, we were a family. They talk about Papa Bear and Ron Lockman, and you know, we really, you know, came up together very focused. You know, some of the guys on our team, sometimes we would travel and we would stop by KFC. Some guys ate better on the road than at home. So you can imagine some of those guys, when it was time to run, they were like, hey, I'm ready. And competition-wise, in practice, we practiced extremely hard. And one of the things that really nobody, you know, you can talk about Usain Bolt, and we were the only team in 1976 that beat the Jamaicans in Philadelphia. Then they had a fundraiser, and they told us, well, maybe you guys ought to come out to Kingston, Jamaica. And we said, all right, no problem. And we won them out in Kingston. That's right. You know, so, you know, anything that I've done, I had traveled for the '84 Olympics, and I was a college All-American by God's grace at Arizona State. I graduated from ASU. But saying all those beautiful things, if it wasn't for, you know, the Hams and the Bobby Hunters, and the Bernard and Bennett Longs, you know, that wasn't possible at all. And I can remember some of my toughest times. My first race was against UCLA, and a guy named Greg Foster. And at the time, and it was another guy from USC, a guy named Clancy Edwards. But to make a long story short, Clancy Edwards was not only the fastest collegian, he was one of the fastest runners in the world at that time. So I backed up in the starting blocks, and it was me and another guy from Arizona State. And at the time, he had got injured, so it was just me. But to make a long story short, you know, I had to go back to the Bernard Longs and get strength from Bennett Long, get strength from Bobby Hunter, and, you know, continue to, you know, to do that. But anyways, I'm, you know, very grateful and very humble to be here, and I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Brother Louis Williams, who I've known for many years. Sweet Lou, that's what they call me. And, you know, I met Lou some years ago, and I vividly recall Dr. Lou Williams, a little short guy. Lou Moore, I'm sorry, Dr. Lou Moore. And we actually met at a summer camp. And Dr. Moore said, you're a Kappa, aren't you? I said, yes, sir. I want you to coach his basketball team. I looked at him in basketball. know nothing about no basketball. This is what I said in my mind. I didn't say this out loud. So he directed me to Blaine Elementary School. And that's where I met Steve. All right. He was on my team. A young man by the name of John Ford was also a member of that team. Now, I had to read books. I had to learn what basketball was all about. But then I began to think about Coach Hamilton. I used to see Ham. Ham was just so cool and cool. He was always dressed fly. So I figured I'd dress fly too. Not that kind of dress fly, because that was a different era. But I dressed fly. And I studied, and I studied, and I studied. To make a long story short, we won the championship. So you pull your strengths from people that have inspired you. And merely by just watching Coach, I kept my demeanor. You know, for brothers from North Philly, when we lose it, we have a problem with maintaining. In any event, Brother Lou Williams began singing. And my Uncle Barry, he used to say, look, if Lou's going to sing, you just make sure that when he changes key, you change with him. To say the least, Lou has been very influential for a lot of brothers throughout Philadelphia. And I would be remiss to say not across the country. Lou is a good friend of mine, a good brother of mine, and I now present to you Brother Dr. Lewis Williams.
First, I'd like to thank the committee for having me as inducted. I'm very unique from everyone that's going to receive this award. But before I go into that, so I can go home tonight, I did bring my family with me. I have my son-in-law, Michael Smith. Our son is out there, John Paris. Is Lewis out there, John? Our son is out there, who's a graduate. Oh, there's our son. He's a graduate of Ben Franklin. Then I had the apple of my eye, my granddaughter Zoe. My mother wasn't able to be here tonight, my baby girl Latia, and my best friend, my wife Claudia. Now I go home. I came to Ben Franklin in the time of transformation. Ben Franklin was, at that time, undergoing construction. We were going to change the name from Ben Franklin to Mount X High School. I am a protege of Kenny Hamilton in all aspects. Kenny Hamilton taught me to speak up for what I believe in and be different when it was right. And so I was on that committee to help finally select Dr. Bass to become a principal of Ben Franklin. I had to be truthful. He's not the guy we wanted, but he's the guy we got. And we worked with what we had. And for that, we moved on. I've had the opportunity to graduate from Ben Franklin. I've had the opportunity to teach at Ben Franklin. I've had the opportunity to coach at Ben Franklin. I was Bobby Hunter's coach. I was Snoop Graham's coach. I set the table for the Long brothers because Coach Hill had took the job as I was graduating. I ran varsity track for 2 years for Coach Hill, three periods. But one of the things that I enjoyed the most was that we had a football coach named Vince Trombetta. And George, you can appreciate this. When George was at Ben Franklin, they ran a single wing. When I was at Ben Franklin, they ran a single wing. Anybody know anything about a single wing? That's what they call now the pistol and the shotgun. Well, I told Vince Trombetta we weren't going to run that no more, that we had to step up to the 70s. Well, Jim Moss is the one that told me to tell him that because nobody else was running a single wing. Well, we boycotted. The next day, he changed from single wing to the T. But he tricked us. He ran the same plays, George, just from a different formation. But yet and still, I look at that as a transformation as a part of Ben Franklin High School. Because if it wasn't for that, who knows, you was probably still running a single wing and a lot of injuries. Ben Franklin never had a Thanksgiving Day game. Never. I never knew why. Then I found out why. I had to put it the way it was. The coaches did not want to be with us on Thanksgiving Day. When I became the head football coach at University City High School, first thing I did was contact my godfather, Lou Moore, who was a captain, and said we need to have a Thanksgiving Day game. And that's how we started the Thanksgiving Day game at Ben Franklin. I say that to say this. Franklin is a great place to have gone to school. I wouldn't have chosen any other school. It was a melting pot when Al was there. It was a melting pot when I was there. We have some famous people who graduated from Ben Franklin. Not to say just prominent, but famous. And we are very, very proud of our heritage. We used to be called the Poor Richards. The Poor Richards. That wasn't the name we give great people. We changed that name to the Electrons. Poor Richards was the name of Ben Franklin's newspaper. We couldn't be named after a newspaper because we had a lot of heritage. So we changed it to Electrons. So I just want to say to you all, thank you for coming. It's a lot of history here. It's been about 25 years since we had this event. And I'm hoping we will do one much, much before the next 5 years. I'm here with the Alumni Association. Last but not least, I want to thank Kenny Hamilton. Because I'm still coaching the Philadelphia Public League. And it's only because of Kenny Hamilton that I had that opportunity. I retired 2 years ago. I just couldn't stay away. And he comes to watch me coach. And he tells me how I act. And I say, I act like you. And he said, not like that anymore. You can't jump up and down. You get too old. You cannot say things to the referees. The team don't benefit. So I just want to say thank you very much, Ham, for being the dad that you've been, for being all that you've been, just not to me, but to my family and to your other player, because we're unique. I don't think no one else here has a son that graduated from Ben Franklin that played for you and taught and coached at Franklin. So I want to say thank you very much.
And he's one of the big reasons why I got picked to be a coach. He was a very active student leader. And not only did he confront the football program and make them change into modern football, he also got the students to say that if they didn't name me the basketball coach, then nobody was going to play for the team. So they named me the basketball coach. So Luke did that.
Thank you.
And it's Kevin Price, and I graduated from Ben Franklin 2010. Mr. Gamey over there, we call him Smooth Gamey, my math teacher. We love Gamey. Love Miss Brown, still love her. Anything she needs, we got her. Okay, so for the 1980s induction to Hall of Fame, we got Mr. Victor Alexander. Oh, okay, sorry. Paul Snoop Graham, Jerome Pooh Richardson, and Randy Woods. 1980s, Benjamin Franklin.
I'm going to accept for Victor Alexander. He's in Ohio. He was trying to get here, but he's coaching his girls' team, and they have a game on Monday, and he was afraid that he wasn't going to be able to make it up here. But he called, and he said that he really appreciated the honors of this honor of being inducted into our Hall of Fame. Thank you for Victor Alexander.
Okay, we're going to move on to the 1990s. 80s. Okay, I'm sorry. And we're looking for Victor, and you said Victor, so Paul. Paul Snoop, where are you, sir?
I'm not a good speaker, but first I'd like to thank, I'm very humble and honored for this because I only attended Franklin for 1 year and I attended Albany, but I knew that my dad and Coach Ham was good friends as well as old man Claude back then. So Coach Coach Ham gave me an opportunity to display my talent to be able to get to the next level, which that was a dream of mine. And most kids and young adults can't say. But I did achieve that dream. And thanks to you, Ham, you helped me get there, and I'm thankful and blessed that you was in my life for that. And basically, I thank everyone that attended and all the nominees who've been selected. And it's time to watch some football. Thank you.
And I told his father too.
The next inductee will be Jerome Pooh Richardson. Coach.
All right, the Eagles game is on, and I think he probably is the one person that probably people have heard of on this group. He played for Ben Franklin. He was a McDonald's All-American. We sent him to UCLA. He did great things there. He was the first draftee that the Minnesota Timberwolves ever had. When they first started their franchise, the very first person they picked was Jerome Pooh Richardson, and he's still in LA. He's the Clippers, one of the Clippers announcers. So he couldn't be here, but that was Pooh. Oh, and Randy. Okay. Randy Woods. He scored the most points of anybody that I coached at Ben Franklin. And he actually did that by accident, because as great as these guys were, they didn't set very many records. Because when we were blowing people out, I sat them down. Because I wanted to play everybody when I had an opportunity to play everybody. So a lot of my kids, including Snoop, I think Snoop won the scoring night as a junior at Albany. But when he came to Franklin, he was part of the team. But Randy, he sort of got away from me. One time he had 35 points at halftime, and I didn't know it. But when I found out about it, he didn't play in the second half. But Randy's Randy. He went on to LaSalle, and he was drafted by the Clippers, and he played 3 years in the NBA. He now lives in Atlanta. He could be the most talented player that I ever coached. He was quite a talent. If you ever saw Allen Iverson play, Randy Woods could do anything Allen Iverson could do.
Coach. Mr. James Hutcherson will come and present for the inductees for the 1990s.
How you doing, everyone? Good evening. My name is James Hutcherson Jr., class 96 at Ben Franklin High School. But everybody call me Hutch. Right now, I'm currently a coach at Ben Franklin High School, my alma mater. I'm here to speak for David Carter, my best friend. We played with them football team together. I was the center, he was the quarterback. And I let him know, like, when I met this dude, I said, dude, you going to college, man. And I'm going to help you get there. And I definitely did. He went to West Virginia. Now he's the head coach and we won the chip, baby. took us 48 years, but we got it. But I'm going to make this short. David Carter, he's a good man, all around. Whew. He helped me through a lot of adversity as well as himself. He still help out with the kids at the school. He's a very great guy, man. I can't say too much for him because You know, I love you all day, too much, I love you, man. I just want to introduce my very best friend, currently the head coach of football, Ben Franklin Electrons, 2014 champion, David Carter, my best friend, I love you, man.
Hey! Yeah, we electrons. You ain't nothing to find out. Thank you, Hutch. I love you, man. Appreciate you, man. Couldn't do it without you, baby. See you on practice on Monday. Don't be late. You know I'm gonna cuss you out. You good too, baby. Got a couple of other teammates in the room. Andre Tell, my man in the backpack. Man, your brothers, man, y'all was great. I just want to thank y'all for helping me get here today. As my man said, my name is David Carter. Before I start, I want to just give my honor to God, because I know without him, this would not happen. You look in the back, I got my mom here today with me, my sister, Terrell, my daughter, Felice, and my niece, Felicia. Give you a piggyback on myself. Born and raised in one of the hardest. I mean, man, when you come out of North Philly, man, I know you got South Philly, West Philly, but man, when you come out of North, there's all kinds of ups and downs, corners, ducky holes, blocks, and if you can miss them, boy, you can be great. And I met this guy before I go into Ham and Mr. Hill. This guy came into Ben Franklin recruiting me in 1995. His name was Bill Galabert. He was from the University of West Virginia. And he came into the school, he was a white man. And when I'm telling you, come into Ben Franklin, you ain't got the same face as us, there's gonna be trouble. This man was walking up to kids telling them, get their bus out the hallway, get the class. I'm telling them, come on with me, man, before they get us. And he asked me, when you leave this place, what do you want to be remembered as? And I always remember going into the auditorium and seeing a picture of John Chaney on that auditorium wall. And I told that man that day, I said, the best thing I want to do is to be on that wall right there with that man and to go on to West Virginia University and help win the bowl game, which they never did for about 30 years. And he called me the other day and said, Carter, you need to get into psychicnism because you was a damn psychic. I'm like, what you talking about? He said, you wanted to get on the wall and we won a bowl game and you got a college degree. Or I'm about to call you, you need to start making some money. You're a psychic. So, to piggyback on how I got here, you know, my mom, man, was tough on us. I thought the lady was crazy. You know, she handled no business the way she didn't handle it. I stepped down the line, she made sure I got back in line. Then I got so big, I just started grabbing the belt. I'm talking about the strap. So she did something that, I'm taking you to the body shop. So I'm like, the body shop, I ain't worried about it. So the next time I got in trouble, my mom throws me in the corner, and I'm thinking I'm going against Muhammad Ali. And that was the body shop. So I was cool. I was one of the toughest youngest you probably could meet in the city because the body shots got me right. So as I go on through my journey in North Philly, I went to Starter Flash Middle School, which no longer exists. Then I went over to William Penn. I was over there for about a week, and it started getting cold. I told my aunt, I said, I can't go up there, it's getting cold. I can walk right around the corner to Franklin. So she said, let's make the deal. I went to Franklin. So I get in there, and I'm gonna tell you right now, Ham will tell you, Mr. Hill will tell you, I would have came in this room and knocked everybody's glass off the desk, took the pencils, broke them all, nobody doing work today. We gonna play around this class, we gonna play some tag. I'm telling the truth. So that was about 2 years, and I'm gonna tell you, I was a talented kid. I didn't even know I had talent. So maybe around 10th grade, no, 9th grade, Mr. Hill would always come up to me, and now y'all got CDs and MP3 players and just putting on your phone. He had a cassette tape and a headset that he wanted me to listen to. And every day this man would come up to me and ask me to listen. And as a rambunctious kid in North Philadelphia, I used to tell this man to get out my face. You don't know me, I don't know you, leave me alone. Every day. So, you know, one day around, maybe about the end of 10th grade, Mr. Hill come up to me and say, with the same cassette, and this look so beat down, duct tape on it. So I'm like, man, what is it, man? Give it to me. So he said, you can't listen to it out here because it's going to do something to you. I'm like, what? I don't even want to listen to it today. I ain't listening to it. So I left. I come the next day, I'm in the gym. He comes over and say, come to my office. I comes in his office, he hands me the cassette. So I'm like, what does this man want me to listen to? So I take the earphone, put it on my ears, and I hit play. So I'm hearing, I'm like, okay, who is this? So the next thing I hear is Michael Jackson. So I man want me to listen to Michael Jackson? It's a man in the mirror, make a change. I put so many boogies on that man's shirt that day. And Mr. Dillon, when I met him, he was still, I put all kinds of green, yellow stuff on his shirt, and he was crying, I was crying, and I told him, I'm gonna do whatever I can do, Mr. Hill, and I'm gonna turn around. And he looked at me like this and said, no more thing I need you to do is smile around here. And I'm like, I don't know about that, Mr. Hill. And he wouldn't let me leave out of there until I smiled. And then I started smiling, I started coming to school, and we had a crew that we would come from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. If you wanted to make it, this is what you had to do. We got the breakfast in the school. Miss Jenkins was great up in the lunchroom. If we came to school late, she still had our breakfast. Well, I think that's why I kept coming. That breakfast was slammed. And the lunch. You look at my yearbook today and see I got a picture there with 3 lunches around. Man, I was loving that Franklin lunch. So, you know, and, you know, some people in the building still didn't believe that David Carter was turning around. And Ham was one of them. And Mr. Hill went to him and said, Ham, just give him a chance. I think he's doing it. And the thing is, you could see it because my grades went from F's, when Steve did an F, I changed the F around, to D's. They was getting D's and C's and started changing. And then Ham said, I don't know, Ham. I mean, Hill, he ain't ready. So I used to be in the gym all the time. I swear I had 7 classes of gym. And my thing is, my sister, she don't even know this, but as a kid, we used to play high water, low water. And this is when you take the rope, you start on the ground, and you jump over it, and you go higher and higher. And I always used to be the last one. So that's how I know I had talent, because I used to jump very high. So one time I was in the gym, and Ham see me come down and hammer on somebody. He still ain't want me on his team. Still didn't want me on his team. So Mr. Hill talked to him. Young lady came to me one day and asked me the size of my shoes, and I told her 12 and a half. Next day, I brand new pair of sneakers, and I was on the basketball team. At Ben Franklin, it was tough love. See, they ain't know this, so I'm gonna tell them now. Them body shots y'all was giving y'all, she already gave me them, so there wasn't nothing. I had body shots from Butler. Only person that hit me was Ham, Mr. Cheney. I mean, everybody at school, if you got out of line, they would put their hands on you. And I mean, well, I'm gonna tell you right now, it straightened me right out, because I already knew if you had to go in Butler's office and he shut the door, who's coming out? It wasn't you. So you know, my thing is, I loved it. I interned it. I love Ben Franklin to this day. I'm back there now. Every day I am, and I tell people right now, my name is Al Hamilton Hill. That is my name. Every day. And I swear every time, you know, kids come up to me and I tell stories from these guys that gave me. That's all I know is tough love. And that's the same thing I give back to these kids today. They ain't getting nothing easy. I'm giving out tough love at Ben Franklin because this is what I learned. And the thing is, I'm gonna get off because I know y'all want to get to the Eagles game. But the people that was there, they loved you. Even though you got on their nerves. I know Miss Stevens probably wanted to beat me about 40 times. But they loved you. And you could go to them and ask them anything, and they wouldn't go over here and tell you, Carter just came down and said, he got $2 because he ain't eating. They ain't doing that. They gonna give you the $2, you go ahead and your business. And that's what I'm trying to bring back to Ben Franklin. is that tough love. And I'm gonna tell you this right here. I believe everybody can be saved. Because they saved me. I don't know how, but boy, oh boy, they saved me. And last story, I'm gonna get out of here, Ham. I love you to death, man. We went to a tournament in somewhere I don't even know, but nobody was on the streets. They opened the gym doors and the whole town was in the gym. And if you know Ham, I swear to God, my coach was crazy. I know one time we was running up that floor, they was crazy, the same tournament, they wasn't giving us no calls. Next thing I know, I'm running up the court, I bump in the hand. What's going on? Get your stuff, we're leaving. I'm like, what? We're leaving the game, man. We're leaving, get your stuff. We won that tournament. So, my last go Ham out there. Ham tells me, come over to the side, timeout. We are up 2 points, about to win the tournament. Ham says, just like this, David, the guy that you're sticking is going to run up like this, fake, and go back that way, and they're going to throw on the ball. I said, huh? So yeah, that's what they going to do. So I said, all right, I'm ready then, Ham. Dude wasn't running up there, I wasn't running up there. Dude, back then, I'm at the ball like, oh my, I know I can't get on that bus. So I ran the hard as I could, and I jumped and blocked that shot. And boy, I looked over at that man, he was looking at me, I could see the smoke coming out of his nose, ears. But we won. And Ham, I just want to thank you for being a part of my life. Miss Bell, I want to thank you, the mama of the school, you and Miss Brown. I love what y'all do for these young people. Mr. Haley, I really want to thank you, because I know when you first met me, you had an afro. That thing is down there. So, I just want to thank you, and let you little guys know that you can't come home, man. Come home. Please come home and do whatever you can do for Ben Frank High School. Just come home. That's all it takes. Just walk in the front door. I might not know you, but if you Franklin, just come home. Just come on home. That's all I'm preaching today. I want to thank you. Talise, if God ever give us some babies, you take them to Ben Franklin and you show them your dad is on that damn wall.
We're almost at the end of the program, ladies and gentlemen. But before we go to Coach Hamilton, I just would like to preference some things that I had planned to discuss prior to coming here, and it will be short. In lieu of all of the things that are going on in America today, I want all of us to take a second look at one another. Innocent black men and black children are being killed every day at an alarming rate. I was on a radio station with Attorney Mike Ford last week with an interview. And he asked me to come on the show because I'm at Howard University, School of Social. And he asked me 2 important questions. First question was, what if it were your son, your daughter, your grandbaby? What would you do? Now, the second question was, what would Dr. King think? Well, first of all, I can't answer for Dr. King. I can only answer for Ms. Ross, Williams, Coach Ham. And that is a call to action. We've had 155 years of going to the table and having dialogue. Enough of the dialogue. We have got to save our babies. And I'm calling on you and I'm challenging each and one of you to go out, to make a difference. Let us not be too proud or too bourgeois to sit up in our castles and not do anything. To do nothing is a failure to yourself and our children. Thank you. Now for the formal introductions of the class of 2014, we're going to ask Coach Hamilton to come.
Okay. We got to say something about Alex Lesby. He was the last player of the year that I coached, and he went on to Temple University. Okay. Would the inductees please come up? We're hoping that after we get a Benjamin Franklin Alumni Association together, that maybe we can every other year we can induct new.
Can y'all grab a chair? Can y'all put it in the person? Come on.
Oh, yeah. 1970 up front, right? You can't.
We'll put the older gentleman.
Oh, no.
We'll go back, you know.
Let me have you one chair in front, right? We need another chair? No, we good. We good.
What's the time? One can.
Somebody put the time.
Get these chairs. Get these chairs.
No, you no chairs.
I'm just.
Give me the chair.
Put
Sister, sit the chair. Sit chair over there. Your sister said that. Where your brother?
Come act like so you can see one more. Come in.
Let me get a hand. This might be my question.
Okay. Now, we ready?
I didn't break from feedback.
Hey, you tell me somebody broke up at Franklin angry at the
They want $10 about. But I ain't picking people. I just bite you when you try to bite. Go ahead.
QB, you gonna get in there? Slide down. Watch out now.
Watch out.
Okay. Are we ready?
Okay, let me get to
On behalf of the authority invested in me, we now induct you gentlemen and ladies into the Benjamin Franklin 2014 Hall of Fame.
When they putting the pictures up, Mr. Taylor, let me tell you that. Make sure you put them up.
Oh yeah, when we
Guys in the back. They gonna put them in the section of the papers. Lean in a little bit.
we will call everybody. Everybody make sure that they I'll make
Lean this way. Anybody lean that way in the back. Here we go. Right here, right here. Hold it. Right here. I'm tired. Good baby. Come on, bro. That's smiling, man. That glasses on, tilt your head, bro. I can do some things. One more for good measure. You got yours? All right, now sing a school song. I don't know. What's the word? Negative.
We ain't never had a school song. When did Frank get a school song?
They come inside.
Like that?
One more. Here we go. Here we go. Okay.
Frank is school song. When the hell did Frank have a school